Hi, my name is Bhoomika, and in this lesson we are going to be beginning with a new cell organelle, which is the nucleus. So let's get started. Some quick facts. Nucleus is the most prominent organelle of the cell. Usually whenever we try to watch a cell under a microscope, there's a big large dot which is visible, which is the nucleus. The number of nuclei may vary. They may be uninucleate, binucleate, or even multinucleate. Nucleus is present in all eukaryotic cells, as we had already studied. They may be absent in a few cells like mammalian RBCs. In the exam, if a question is asked as to what cells is a nucleus absent in, then you're supposed to write that it is absent in the red blood cells or the mammalian RBCs. The shape of the nucleus is mostly round. It may be oval, disc shaped depending on the type of the cell. Nucleus was the first cell organelle to be discovered. Antony von Leeuwenhoek in 1632 observed lumen or the nucleus in the RBCs of salmon. Okay, nucleus was also described by Franz Bohr in 1804 and by Robert Brown in 1831. Robert Brown in 1833 named and discovered nucleus in plant cells. So this is an important information. It was Robert Brown who named it. Okay. Now, what is a nucleus? The word nucleus is derived from a Latin word nucleus or nucleus, which means kernel. We already have studied this. Nucleus is a double membrane bound organelle present in the eukaryotic cells. The nucleus constitutes most of the genetic material of the cell, which is the DNA. So the DNA in a cell is usually present inside the nucleus. Nucleus maintains the integrity of the genes which regulate the gene expression, in turn regulating the activities of the cell. Therefore, the nucleus is supposed to be the control center of the cell, the master of the cell. Structure. The nucleus is the largest organelle of the cell. Of course, as I said, that it's the most prominent. It's the first structure that is visible to you when you observe something under a microscope. The nucleus appears to be dense, spherical organelle. It occupies about 10% of the total volume of the cell. In mammalian cell, the average diameter of a nucleus is approximately 6 micrometers. A semi-fluid matrix nucleoplasm is seen inside the nucleus. So just the way we have a cytoplasm inside a cytone or a cell, the same way inside the nucleus we have a nucleoplasm, which is a viscous fluid, and it is similar to the composition of a cytoplasm. So here we have the position of a nucleus. You can see this whole is the cell, and we can see a very prominent nucleus right here. You can see a nucleolus right in the center of the nucleus, about which we are going to study in a few minutes. Moving on, let's study the structure of the nucleus in a bit of a deeper detail, and I want you to remember all these points because we're going to do them in detail. So we have the outer membrane, we have the inner membrane, then we have this nucleoplasm, which is similar to the cytoplasm of the cell. We have a nucleolus, which is present right in the center of the nucleus. Then we have some chromatin material right here. Then we also have a nuclear envelope or the nuclear cover, and then we also have some pores inside the nuclear envelope. So this is another structure which is more clear. You can see the chromosomes also. You can see some chromatin material. You can see the nuclear pores. The nuclear envelope is clearly visible, and nucleolus is right in the center. Okay, moving on, let's study what is a nuclear envelope. The nuclear envelope is also known as the nuclear membrane. It is made up of two membranes, the outer and the inner membrane, as we just saw in the diagram. The outer membrane of the nucleus is continuous with the membrane of the RER, the rough endoplasmic reticulum. The space between these layers is known as the perinuclear space. Okay, so the space which is present between the outer membrane and the inner membrane is termed as the perinuclear space, and the nuclear envelope encloses the nucleus and separates the genetic material of the cell from the cytoplasm of the cell, and that is why we say that genetic material is present inside the nucleus and not in the cytoplasm. It also serves as a barrier to prevent passage of macromolecules freely between the nucleoplasm and the cytoplasm. Moving on, we have the nuclear pores. Now we had observed some pores present in the envelope. These are known as the nuclear pores. Nuclear envelope is perforated with numerous pores called the nuclear pores. The nuclear pores are composed of many proteins known as nucleoproteins. So the composition of the pores is nucleoproteins. The nucleopores, they regulate the passage of molecules between nucleus and the cytoplasm. So of course pores are present because some substances are to be taken from the cytoplasm to the nucleus, and some proteins which are synthesized inside the nucleus are supposed to be taken to the cytoplasm. So this transport is taken place through the help of the pores. The pores allow the passage of the molecules only about 9 nanometer wide. The larger molecules are transferred through active transport. Molecules like DNA and RNA are allowed into the nucleus, but the energy molecules, the ATP, water and ions, are permitted freely. So the next structure that we're going to do is the chromosomes. The nucleus of the cell contains majority of cell's genetic material in the form of multiple linear DNA molecules. Now we know that a eukaryotic cell has got a linear DNA which is present inside the nucleus. So this when it condenses, it forms chromosomes. These DNA molecules are organized into structures called the chromosomes. The DNA molecule are in complex with a large variety of proteins called the histones, which form the chromosomes. So we know together the DNA and the histones, they kind of wrap around each other and they make it electrically neutral, right? So in the cell, they are organized in a DNA protein complex known as the chromatin. During cell division, the chromatin forms well defined chromosomes. So chromatin is a very irregular structure, but when cell division has to take place, this kind of condenses and it forms chromosomes. The genes within the chromosomes consist of cell's nuclear genome. Mitochondria of the cell also contains a small fraction of genes. Human cells have nearly 6 feet of DNA, which is divided into 46 individual molecules. Okay, 46 individual molecules, 23 chromosomes, like that. Moving on, we have the nucleolus. So there was a prominent thing right in the center of the nucleus, which is termed as the nucleolus. It is not surrounded by a membrane at all. It is not surrounded by a membrane. So what part inside the nucleus is not surrounded by a membrane? It is the nucleolus. It is a densely stained structure found in the nucleus. The nucleoli are formed around the nuclear organizer region. Okay, so the presence of nucleolus is near the nucleolar organizer region. It synthesizes and assembles ribosomes and ribosomal RNA. So this is the function of the nucleus. Okay, you've got to remember this point. It synthesizes and assembles ribosomes as well as the ribosomal RNA. The number of nucleoli is different from species to species, but within a species, the number is fixed. During cell division, the nucleolus disappears. Okay, that's the first mark of, the first characteristic of cell division is that the nucleolus starts disappearing, and that's how we know that the prophase has started that way. Studies also suggest that the nucleolus may be involved in cellular aging and senescence. Now we have the functions of the nucleus. We know what the structure is. We know what the different components are. Now let's do some functions of the nucleus. It controls the heredity characteristics of an organism, of course, because it houses the chromatin, the genetic material. It is responsible for protein synthesis, cell division, growth and differentiation. Because it contains the nucleolus is associated with the synthesis of the ribosomes and the RNA. So of course it is responsible for protein synthesis. It stores hereditary material in the form of deoxyribonucleic acid strands. We already did that. It also stores proteins and ribonucleic acid, which is the RNA in the nucleolus. It is a site of transcription process in which the messenger RNA, mRNA, are produced for protein synthesis. Aids in exchange of DNA and RNA between the nucleus and the rest of the cell through the pores, of course. And then nucleolus produces ribosomes, which are known as protein factories. It also regulates the integrity of the genes and the gene expression. So all of these things which are associated with the heredity, they are happening inside the nucleus, except for some processes which take place in the cytosol. Moving on, let's try to understand what nucleus in different types of cells looks like. Let's talk about the animal cell first. The animal cell nucleus is a membrane-bound organelle, of course. It is surrounded by double membrane. The nucleus communicates with the surrounding cell cytoplasm through the nucleopause. We just did that. The DNA in the nucleus is responsible for the hereditary characteristics and protein synthesis. Okay, heredity, protein synthesis, the basic functions of the nucleus. The active genes in the DNA are similar, but some genes may be turned on or off depending on the specific cell type. This is the reason why a muscle cell is different from a liver cell. Okay, because the active genes on a DNA, they are always similar, and DNA is present in every cell, right? So but depending on the specific cell type, these expression is turned on or off. So that is the reason why we have different properties. A muscle cell is different from a liver cell, a hepatocyte, like that. Nucleolus is a prominent structure in the nucleus which aids in the ribosomes production and protein synthesis. Now, plant cell nucleus is a double membrane bound organelle, controls the activities of the cell, is known as the mastermind or the control center. Common details: the plant cell wall has two layers, the outer membrane and the inner membrane, which encloses a tiny space known as the perinuclear space. We also did that. Nucleus communicates the cell cytoplasm through the nucleopause present in the nuclear membrane. Nuclear membrane is continuous with the endoplasmic reticulum. DNA is responsible for cell division, growth, and protein synthesis. Now, the bacterial cell nucleus is the kind that we consider under the prokaryotic form. So, the bacterial cell does not contain any nucleus. The bacterial chromosome is not enclosed in a membrane-bound nucleus. The bacterial chromosomes is circular and are located in the cytoplasm. We have already done that in the while we were studying the prokaryotic and eukaryotic forms. So this was all about the nucleus. If you have any questions, then you can write it down in the comment of the Q&A section. But I think this was simple, and I'm pretty sure the whole course is going to be simple like this. You just need to sit with a pen and paper and note down all the important details. Thank you so much for watching. Please recommend this on your page, and do follow me and rate and review this course. Thank you.